Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kevin Morris. I'm the chairman of the Board of Selectmen in Douglas. I have my vice chairman, Mike Fitzpatrick, here, as well as Selectman Bowman, and the candidates that are here for seeking election, or in some cases, re-election. Figured it would be a good opportunity for you guys to get to know some of these people a little bit on a more personal level. Some are some old faces, some are some new that are trying to get in. I'm going to kick this off. One of the candidates was unable to attend today. Unfortunately, he couldn't get the time off of work. He respectfully requested that I read his statement and his bio. And then I'm going to turn it over to the rest of the candidates so you guys can fire questions away at them as needed, okay? Does that work for everybody?
Yeah, we'll just introduce the candidates.
Yeah, we'll introduce them first.
And what they're running for, and because we're not on the board.
Oh, sure. So, why
Have a
don't
microphone, because it's hard, you gotta speak up.
Yeah, speak up.
somebody's actually telling me to be louder? I love that.
Thanks, Lisa.
So what we're going to
Only
do...
for today.
Yeah, thanks. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to have all these folks that are currently running for office introduce themselves and what they're running for.
Yeah.
And then I'll get into the absentee person giving his bio, and then you guys are off and running. So we'll start down there.
Hello, everybody. My name's Leo Lyons. I live on Bad Luck Lake
Yeah.
on Southwest Main Street. I'm currently on the Cemetery Commission, and I'm seeking the open seat on the Library Trustees.
Yeah.
But I'm a write-in candidate, and I went around. I gave you all stickers so you can put it on the ballot. You don't have to write it all out. I've owned the house on Bad Luck Lake for 30 years. Just retired recently 2 years ago from the Postal Service, where I was a postmaster. So I'm free to, work and help the town out, and I hope you'll vote next Tuesday. But just remember to bring your stickers because I'm a write-in candidate.
Yeah.
Could I get one? I was away from my seat.
Sure. And I volunteer at the food pantry at St. Dennis Church. You want?
That's right, I've seen him there. I've
Yep.
seen him there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ross Smith. I'm a 4+ generation deep Smith in the town of Douglas. You see some familiar faces out here. I'm going for the 3-year seat for selectman. Some of you may know my parents were very involved in town politics growing up as I was a little peanut. And I've had a business here in town for 25 years. And I figure it's time to give back to the town. We're highly involved with the high school work study program for 20+ years. A lot of students come through. And I hope for your vote on Tuesday.
Hello everyone, my name is Maxwell Postma. I'm running for the 1-year term for selectman.
Yeah.
I was born and raised in Douglas. I've lived my whole life here. I graduated from Douglas High School in 2018. I'm currently working as a real estate paralegal out in Newton. But one of the big things is I love Douglas. It's my home. I'd like it to stay my home. And I also think that the best way that I feel as I can give back to our community is to run for selectman, to get involved, and to help everyone else create a more transparent government that we have, to make sure that everyone's informed about their candidates, and to use the technology that we have to make sure that everyone is getting the information that they need on their candidates to make the right decision that they can when they go to the voting booth. And that's one of the things I want to do as your next selectman. So I hope you'll come out and vote for me. Thank you.
No, you go first, Mr. Davis.
All right, I'm Harold Davis, also known as Hal Davis, and I've been living in Douglas for longer than I've lived in any other community. I can't say I was born here. Graduate of Bowdoin College and Georgetown University Law Center, practiced law since 1969, specializing in municipal and economic development. I've donated a lot of my years and energy to the town. I've served as chairman of the Economic Development Commission, a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and 4 terms as your selectman, and I hope to have one final term if you support me. I suggest that what's important is not that we want to serve you, but then how can we, and what will we do for you individually or for the town? And you will recall, I mentioned this gentleman's running for the library. We almost lost the library a few years ago. And then we did a 2.5 override, and that increased taxes, and it barely passed. However, the selectmen, the gentleman working with me, and a few people in the town administration said, we're going to get some new tax revenues into town. Well, that's happening. You just notice all of the construction happening over here. So if just a few statistics that are on your thing. We've received over $8 million from the federal government and the states that believe in the town of Douglas for our infrastructure improvements, which is necessary to attract business. We've got business attracted. The first building will be about 1,200,000 square feet. That's $100 million in private investment into there and 400 jobs. So if somebody's looking for a job, that could be a place that you could use. Our current tax base, only 6% comes from business. So where's the burden fall upon you guys? So we're expecting with the new business that's slated to come in, and the investment is already beginning, that'll triple. So there'll be money to keep your taxes low, potentially to reduce it. If we hadn't had this new revenue coming in, I don't think we would have had the senior bus approved. So we're optimistic that things after many, many years are happening. You know, it's like we captured lightning in a bottle. We're taking 2 sand pits and making them productive to generate new revenue and new jobs for the town. So that's the main interest I have. I want to see that over the finish line and make sure it's done properly. It's interesting that this developer that's coming in hasn't asked for any tax breaks at all from the town. Any of the property tax revenues will be going into the town's treasury and helping hopefully to keep your taxes low and doing some of the necessary improvements we have. So I ask for your support. Give me one more term, and I'm ready to hang up my shoes after that. Thank you.
All right, the last candidate, he's actually a former selectman. His name is Michael Hughes. Unfortunately, he was unable to get the day off of work today to be here, so he asked me if I could please read a quick bio for him. He is also running for the 1-year selectman term, which was the remainder of Selectman Cortez's term. Mike has resided in Douglas over the past 25 years with his wife, Marilyn. He's enjoyed the rural, small-town feel of the town, but has also recognized the need to diversify the tax base with commercial development to support education and vital public safety services we've all come to rely on. He firmly believes that this can be done in a way that doesn't change the overall small-town feel of the town. He spent his entire career working in the nonprofit human services field in a variety of different care and managerial roles. He's helped many vulnerable populations receive much-needed service in the areas of mental health, substance abuse, homelessness, and child welfare. Currently, Mike is the Chief Operating Officer for the Worcester County Food Bank, where he's helped address issues of food insecurity throughout the county, including those who reside right here in Douglas. In addition to his work in human services, he had the honor to have previously served on the Douglas Board of Selectmen for 15 years, from 2006 to 2021, including a 5-year term as chairman. He chose not to seek re-election at that time due to some personal issues, but he's come to realize that he has missed his time on the board, and he feels that he can still make a meaningful contribution to the town. During his time on the board, he always tried to be fair and open-minded with a willingness to take differing opinions into consideration before voting on any issues. He tried to make decisions based on what was best for Douglas and its residents. and his record stands for itself, and he's proud of his approach and accomplishments while he was a member of this board. He also believes that his 15 years of previous experience on the board makes him the best candidate to fill the one-year vacancy. It allows him the opportunity to hit the ground running immediately without needing to waste time on learning the ropes, and in doing so, quickly be able to continue where he left off and make decisions that are in the best interest of all who live in the town that we all love. He would very much appreciate your vote on May 9th.
That's it.
Questions, I guess?
Was any kind of traffic impact study done before all this construction
Yep,
work was?
there has been. In fact, people ask about the trucks. There'll be a lot of trucks. It's designed so that all the trucks will be forced onto 146, and they will not be able to take a left-hand turn to come into town. That was one of our main concerns. We're going to continue to police that and make sure that that's done, but it's been designed that way.
Are they gonna come down North Street?
No, they'll be going out right onto 146. You see where the bridge is going in? If you've seen that under construction, they'll be coming out there and then have to go right onto 146.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Lisa,
There's gonna be a lot of good.
Yeah.
everybody's bailing out.
So, Lisa Malzinski, I want to ask a question of the candidates and Mr. Smith in particular, because while I appreciate that that one warehouse facility has the traffic all planned going on to 146, the new facility that's being planned at the Pine Sand and Gravel Pit has over 5,000 vehicle trips a day. That includes trucks as well as cars. Where is the workforce coming from? North, south, they can stay on 146. Any east-west traffic is going to impact this town because the only options are Route 16 or Central Turnpike in Sutton. So there's a balance, and I appreciate with one warehouse, maybe we can strike that balance, but at town meeting, we heard that the next fiscal year, the only piece of road that's going to be fixed outside of Gilboa and North is a section of South Street. That's how limiting our budget is right now. And so for all the revenue that comes in from a business, we, the taxpayer, have to spend a lot to keep roads and other infrastructure in shape for ourselves. So I want to ask Mr. Smith in particular, how do you feel about the project that is coming on, which is over 3 million square feet of warehousing? And tell us how you would help solve our town's growth problem.
So I also see another problem, not a problem, but another issue to be addressed. There's an Amazon building that's getting ready to open down in Uxbridge on Route 16. There's another facility down just over the line in Uxbridge. These are going to definitely have an impact on traffic. Our little Main Street is pretty tough to handle.
it is.
You come through town at 7 o'clock in the morning and school traffic has a gridlock. So there is definitely going to be some need to address traffic issues. Granted, as they say, it's designed for the project going on now. Everything's designed to go to 146, but that's not always going to happen. You know, where are they coming from, how they getting here? So yes, there are definitely some major traffic issues that are going to be heading our way that are going to need to be addressed.
I might add that the second building hasn't even started in the planning process, so there would be necessary to have a traffic study for that as well. And by the way, in the development costs, there's going to be a complete resurfacing of North and Gilboa. That's part of the project. And now that the gas line has been extended in there, this will all be taken care of. So there's no traffic problems or road problems. That's all built into the project costs. But you know, your point is well taken, Lisa. We have to be very careful with that second project to make sure that we're not overwhelmed. I didn't move to Douglas, you know, to have 15 minutes to go through the center of town. But I think we can accommodate that. The location of these is good because they're all near 146, and that's where we want the traffic to go, which is underutilized road.
Anybody else?
got a question for all the candidates. Did you vote in the last town election?
I did.
I did.
I did.
Absolutely.
What was his question?
How about a couple of previous ones, too?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that about 5% of 6% of the eligible voters will turn out on election day. Sad commentary, but you know that's the way life is everywhere. One year we won the banner for the highest percentage turnout in the Blackstone Valley. I think that was 4 or 5 years ago, but I think that's gone down now. So even if you don't vote for me, at least turn out and vote for somebody.
Right.
Question?
So here again, where's our transparency? Where's our publicity? Vote. Where are the signs? Needs to be out there in the papers or however you get your information out so that people are aware that it is time to vote. And I think, Matthew, that's something you have brought up in your message.
Yeah, I mean, that's been one of my biggest things is I think it's very hard to find information from the town about when's the day to vote is. What's the information on the candidates? There's very limited information about each candidate for local election. And oftentimes our local political offices are the most important in affecting your day-to-day life. But if you can't go out and find information on your candidates, how are you supposed to responsibly vote and make those decisions for yourself? So that's one of the things that I'm running for selectman for. I want to put each one of you in the best position to learn about each candidate, to use our online resources, whether it's our website, Facebook, other social medias, to make sure that each person in Douglas has easy access to learn about each candidate and has easy access to know when each election is. Because sometimes it's hard when there's elections on May 9th and it's not really lining up with the national elections to get people out to vote. If we make information easier for people to access, we put everyone in our town in a better position to make an informed decision in the voting booth.
Agreed.
We used to have a League of Women Voters. I don't know if they're around, but they're not active anymore. And we used to had a candidates night when I first ran at the Jenks store, which was very nice in the evening, and we had maybe 100 or so people. But that seems to have dropped off. So we need some local public spirit, and I agree with you that we should probably publicize a little bit more what's going on.
I have a question for each of you four candidates. What is the most important issue facing the town right now? And if it requires funding, where are you finding the funding? Don't all speak at once.
I think the most important issue is stabilizing the taxes on the homeowners in town and having responsible economic development growth in the town to balance us off, to get away from that 6%, to triple, quadruple that from business, and provide necessary public services as well as keeping taxes as low as possible. So I'd say that's the major issue that I see in town.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest budget problem we're looking at, well, not problem, but it's, we have a very slim budget, and we can do that. They're doing an all right job with inviting warehouses in, but we need to really look to find more business that we can bring in that makes sense for our town. We can use our natural resources that we have in our town, like our state forest and all of our lakes, to try and introduce businesses that make sense for our town. We could invest in campgrounds to bring people through our town and to increase tourism that's smart for our town. When we get people coming in, they're using our natural resources like our state forest, they're spending their money in our town, they're increasing business desires to move to our town, and that can really help transfer over and find a balance between our budget and keeping our town small and making sure it stays what people want it to be, as a small town.
So not to ride the coattails, but yes, taxes are definitely, I don't want to say a burden, but it's a daily thing. I own a business in town, and I live in town, so I get a double whammy on taxes. running a small business, I'm very budget conscious. So again, with our limited funds and tax revenue that we have, really needs to be paid special close attention to as far as spending on any, whatever's spent on really needs to benefit our town. It's frivolous is not gonna do it.
I think one of the biggest problems in the town is the roads right now, the condition of the roads. And there's a fine balance between doing all the roads over and keeping the taxes, you know, at a low rate, which it's already not at a low rate. I think bringing more revenue into the town is one way, and there's grants out there. There's, you know, we can research more on getting money that's basically given to us instead of taking it out of your pocket and my pocket. And as far as the library goes, it's been a while, but the library needs to be handicapped accessible, and it's going on too long. And if I get elected to the library, that's one of my main things.
How about the parking at the library? Is there, could be any improvement in that?
I don't know, I'm gonna look into it when I get in there.
Mr. Lyons, are you still going to serve on the cemetery commission?
Absolutely, yep.
Cemetery and Douglas Cemetery.
Well, it's gonna be more beautiful. I had the flagpole put up, there's a flagpole now, and I'm spraying wood chips on the outside of the wall that the town provided for us. Things like that. We're gonna do more planting and, you know, beautify it.
I got a question. You talked about, somebody asked about repaving the roads. And at the town meeting, I think you mentioned you set aside $2 million a year for paving. And someplace there's a list of the roads by priority. Can we see that online somewhere? So if we have a road, if we're on a road that needs some work, can we see where we stand as far as how long our wait is?
There is a capital advisory group that prioritizes capital investment, and that one of the key things in that is the roads, which are in deplorable condition. Unfortunately, we had 2 bridges that we had to repair, and we had to use what's called Chapter 90 funds, which are earmarked from the state for road improvements. But since that's behind us, I think there'll be more, and we're setting aside in the budget so much to do so much per year. We can't afford to do it all in one year, at least at this stage. But it is a priority of the Board of Selectmen to improve the roads, and I think there is a program to do that. But your idea is good, maybe to have a list to show which roads are seen as priority.
I think at the town meeting, they mentioned
Yeah.
that we do have a list.
Yep.
Yeah. But it should be
I'm just
posted on the
asking if there's
website.
some place where we can see
Yeah,
it.
right. I think you can get that information at the town hall, but it should be on the website also.
There's actually, if you don't mind, there's a complete report put out by an engineering firm. It'd be pretty extensive to put onto the website, but it prioritizes all the roads, and that's actually what the superintendent, highway superintendent, is concentrating on. So what you heard at the town meeting, actually, I'm the one that said it. In that report, they recommended that you spend $1.7 million over the next 20 years to bring the roads up to an acceptable level. Currently, we receive $363,000 in Chapter 90 funds. So through the capital process, we put into the capital budget $360,000, so it doubles it. So to put that in perspective, what can they do when they paved Southwest Main Street from the blinking light down to Wallen Lake Road? That portion cost $700,000. So you don't get a lot for $720,000. So they're doing the best they can. They did a portion of Northwest Main Street. They did, I think, a portion of Cemetery Street, portion of Vine Street this past year. This current year that's coming up, they're gonna work on South Street and the drainage. But there is an active, to complement what Al just told you, there is an active plan to correct these roads. Just takes a lot of work to do it because they've been in such bad shape for so long. We have, I believe, 88 miles of road in town. It's kind of hard to believe that there's actually that many miles of roads in town, but there is quite a bit.
Those of us that have been here for 40, 50 years remember
Douglas Pike when it was dirt?
Yeah. And, you know, Buff did what he could to stay within a budget and help us out.
Yeah.
But when you just cover all the rocks that are in the road
Right.
with Buff mix,
Yeah.
we're gonna live with those frost heaves unless the road is done correctly from the
And that's what they're
start.
doing moving forward, is they're actually doing it correctly. When they did that portion of Southwest Main Street, they actually took it right down to the base and started over again. I know it because I live on that street. So. Yes, Lisa?
So, since we're in what used to be the senior center, and now it's the adult social center, I'm curious what the candidates running for selectmen would help do for this senior center and for seniors in town who are a growing population that are now struggling with housing, where to get fuel. I know Patrice does a great job here, but last winter she was really strapped for resources. So how are we going to be creative and do something that'll support our senior citizens and what they have access to? And I think the bus is a great start, but I want to hear what more is on the horizon if we elect one of you, or both, two of you, sorry.
Good luck, guys.
Well, I think we've taken the first step is the bus, and that, again, is to you, is not, would not have happened were it not for new tax revenues being on the drawing boards to come into town. So we don't have any other, I think we've talked about potentially a new senior center that could be on the drawing boards, but there's no specific. But certainly, we would like to do something more for our seniors with the added revenue. So you could spend over here, reduce over here. You want to get the right balance. You want to do some improvements for you that help you. And at the same time, we want to keep some revenue to offset the burden on residents. So your point is well taken, but I don't think we have any specific things. But we'd like for you to come back to the board and tell us what you think is needed in the town and see what we can do.
Yeah, I think specifically for seniors, the best thing we can do to improve the senior center is to ask them questions. What do they want? What do they like about what we have? I mean, you know, we could do with probably expanding the senior center, especially as we're seeing the town of Douglas's population is going to continue to get older and older. We could do with increasing the size of the senior center, making sure that each person who comes here is feeling welcomed, and making sure that there's stuff for you all to do, and making sure that you have a space where you can all connect, and in your golden years, you know, you can enjoy our town.
Well, I know for a fact, probably coming in a few years, I'll be sitting in one of these seats here too. So there's going to be an interest as far as what we can do for our seniors, and obviously, again, not to dwell on taxes, but you know, most are on a fixed income, and with the prices of fuel and everything going on, I know it's tough. So there's got to be, I'm sure there's other programs that may be available that we can look into and see how to improve, or as Hal was saying, there's talk about possibly a new center also. So there's all types of directions we can go, but some feedback or what you'd like to see too would also help out, I would imagine.
Is there ever going to be a four-way stop on the corner of North and Gilboa?
That's a question I had myself, and I wasn't sure who to ask, honestly, but I
police and
always
DPW.
kind of wondered that myself, because I believe there should be.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, because I've seen some real close
You come out of
calls.
North Street, they just come up, and they
Yes.
don't let you out.
And if
So
you're
you
not
gotta
familiar
pull
with the
way out,
town,
You know,
Yeah.
with all the signs there,
Mhm.
because you can't see the cars coming up.
it's tough.
You
And,
don't
and
stop.
you get a non-familiar driver that doesn't know what to do, stop, go, it gets tricky. Yeah.
You should have a light
Yeah.
there.
Bad,
It
bad.
is
So
bad.
I don't know if,
You have it
what the plan
temporary,
is for that
you know?
particular intersection. Personally, I don't know. That was a question I had.
I'm gonna ask it, do you, any of you ever see us becoming a select board instead of board of selectmen?
I would support it if it came
At the end
before
of
the board.
Mechanic Street?
I don't know if we can do it, if it's gotta change the enabling legislation with the legislature, how that's done, I have to look into that.
Well, I'd support that too. I mean, you pretty much said it, you know, we can look into it and
Yeah.
figure out exactly how to go about doing it, but I think we should.
I pretty much have the same answer, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, wait.
Have you ever considered putting a light near the Uxbridge Savings Bank, trying to get on Main Street, coming from the ball field and trying to get on Main Street? You never can get on. You're sitting there for 10 minutes to get through. And if you're gonna have trucks going by, how are you gonna make it?
Well, that's why you wanna keep the trucks out.
You want, well, there's a lot of cars, and it's very difficult. We only have 2 red lights in Douglas, one in Douglas Town and one down by the school. And it's aggravating to sit there, waiting and looking down to see if there's, and they don't travel 25 miles an hour. They're doing 60.
Yeah.
I should think that would be in the traffic study.
Put this on the board, on
Yeah,
the
well,
agenda for
yeah,
the
they gotta-
select board, and invite the DPW, our Public Works people to weigh in on it, see what they think, and see if we can get some funding for it.
That's almost true of any street that's on, going on to 16 though. I live on Bowen Court, and it took us 15 minutes to take a left this morning. Because, you know, when the detour's not there, people at least stop and let you go. I even had the police never stop and let you go.
I come through every morning.
It's ridiculous.
Always try to leave a gap so someone, at least someone can come out and keep the flow going.
You just gotta rely on a courteous driver
That's it, that's it.
and cross your fingers.
Yeah.
Still a pretty good town to live in.
Absolutely. I don't plan on doing it.
I know, we want to make it a better town.
I have a
I
question.
raised my children here, and they did very well.
I'm used to it. I want to ask all of you, and of course, being on the board, you already have voted on this issue. But coming down the pike in the next few years, there's got to be a new DPW building. I'm on the Building and Facilities Construction Committee, and we've gone through a process, and we've made a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen about who should become, you know, the company to best advise, and actually, the company has been hired, such as a dock company, to look at all the projects, including new roofs, what's needed, who can be best to make these corrections. But top of the list is the town garage. It is unsafe.
I think selectmen, we have Selectman Bonin and Fitzpatrick and myself and everybody else, that's the #1 priority of the capital. And, you know, Shirley, here's an example of working in a small town. She was on the Board of Selectmen, she's a captain, I don't know how many other committees you've been on, contributed, and that's the nice thing about us, and about America, that you don't find this in other countries, that people volunteering really at no pay to to make the town a better place. But Public Works, getting back to that, is the #1 priority. We're pretty far along, I believe, in selecting the company, the engineering company that's going to help us design the.
No,
Mike's, I don't know where Mike
you
went.
have-
He's
You have
been close on that.
selected that company
Yeah,
already.
right.
And they're in the process,
Process.
and we'll be hearing
Yeah.
something from them when we have our next Building and Facilities Committee meeting as to where they're at. But don't get your hopes up for all these other projects, because this is a top priority at this point. It's unsafe.
That's why we have a trailer there.
Yeah. And also the fire station, as far as health-wise, when the firefighters have to sleep overnight
Exactly.
because they're full-time. I do have one more question. Status of the water, sewer, and all these new companies, big companies that are out there. How does that tie in? Do we have the capacity? I haven't heard too much about this.
Yeah, we've gotten $8 million in federal and state money, and part of the application process was to show that we had the capacity for the water and sewer to do that.
And
So-
is that also including the next big
Yeah, the next,
construction
yeah,
project?
we're also applying for, if you get to a stage 2 development, for additional state money. If you look at what Douglas has gotten, probably on a per capita basis, we might be #1 in the state to get
But
over
you're-
$8 million for these infrastructure improvements.
But you're talking about ARPA funds too.
No, well, very, yeah, small amount, but most of it is the grant from the Mass Works grant from the state and EPA. You see the sign, EPA, Environmental Protection Agency? EDA, Economic Development Administration, is in partnership with the town.
Thank you.
Richard's got a question?
I have two more, but I want to go one at a time. The building out back here that's been empty for a number of years. A group made a running start at selling it and was unsuccessful. Just before COVID, I made a running start at it. It's currently assessed at something like just under $500,000 for the empty building by some assessor off in some castle somewhere. How can you assess a building at $500,000 when it has no heat, no plumbing, no electricity, no insulation?
Well, there's an assessed value even on public buildings, which obviously don't pay taxes. So I don't know if it's meaningful or not, but the assessors said, well, it's worth $500,000 if somebody wants to go in and make all these improvements. I personally would give a private developer and almost give them the land to put something in there of value that the town wants. Because it's just sitting there as an eyesore. There's, you know, we spent money a number of years ago on a new roof for it, and it's used occasionally, I guess, for Halloween sometimes, and that's about the. It's been a problem. I don't think there's an easy answer for it.
All right, you understand that in about 15 years, you're gonna need a new room. If you decide that you finally decide you can't sell the building and you tear it down, it's something under $250,000 to tear it down. So it'd be better to sell it, but get it assessed as something that's reasonable that you can deal with. You're gonna have to put about $400,000 just in the infrastructure in the building itself to make it usable.
Well, I think the assessment would be changed if we had a private party came in and make it acceptable to somebody who want to buy the building.
I tried to get it changed, and they
Yeah.
did not change it. They reassessed it at the same time.
But we can make a tax deal if somebody's willing to do it. You can do a tax increment financing deal on the property if that's necessary.
Is that in general agreement of the group?
Yeah, pretty much. I like to see something done with the old elementary school, absolutely, whether it be sold or, right now, it's almost a liability just sitting. It is a liability.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. We gotta figure out something to do with it, because if we just let it keep rotting out there, it's just gonna become more and more of a danger, and it sits up on a hill slightly. You know, there's a lot of problems that come with just letting a building rot away, especially a building that looks so nice as that. If it was fixed up and you put something really nice in there, you could really bring something to this town that has been missing because there's just an ugly building sitting up there.
Years ago, I brought this option to the Board of Selectmen that it can be marketed because there's almost no investment needed in the property for a developer, for offices, a restaurant, a brew pub, whatever you wanted to put there. There are companies that specifically market these kind of buildings to redevelopers with no cost to the town until the project is finished. And frankly, the back was turned. So this is a possibility, and who's ever elected, I think we should make that a priority, is to get that building occupied and functioning as a great piece of downtown.
We did have a private developer from Milford at one point that was interested, but the numbers didn't work. It depends, you know, with higher interest rates and the banking problems and potentially going into recession, the immediate future, to be honest with you, and I have to be honest, is that it's not likely that something's going to happen tomorrow, but it's something we really should address, and hopefully lightning will strike and we can do something with it.
We talked about the grammar school up here.
Yeah.
Pam and I were on the committee for 5 years trying to get rid of that.
Yeah.
We've advertised heavily in the Boston papers and the Worcester papers. You have to remember we're dealing with a school that's right next door, so forget your brewery.
Okay, I'm just saying, there are creative solutions, but they weren't explored and they could be explored. That's all
I
I'm
think
saying.
we've explored every possible situation. We would love to have seen housing for veterans, but you've got to remember, any developers that come in, they don't want to spend money. And the free money that they're going to get means you have to qualify for, what's the chapter, where they take in low-income housing.
So I'd like to hear what the candidates have to say about that project. You know, that's the past. I want to hear what the candidates have to say about what could be done with that building.
The best thing we found after 5 years of work is, hate to say it, but it's time. Level it.
Yeah, it would be nice to be able to do something with it, and I would have to walk through and look, but I would almost have to think just from looking at the outside, the inside's gotta be.
The inside is
It's
trash.
gotta be. So,
The inside
again,
is trash.
it being a liability, and having gone to school there, you'd hate to see it knocked down, honestly, but, it's almost like that's what's gonna happen, and then construct something, maybe a small medical clinic, or a pharmacy. We could use a pharmacy in town.
You would have a much easier time selling the piece of land and let something productive be built on it than trying to sell an empty shell of a building which needs water, storage, complete renovation, elevators.
And like you say, you're limited because you have.
With the school,
Right above.
you have to watch what you're available to get for housing, for businesses. The school kids walking by, and there's all kinds of limitations.
Correct.
Jim, it's obvious we're wrong your bill, but we'd like to hear from the candidates.
I think the school building is part of a bigger process to redevelop our downtown area. I think we're taking care of the taxes with these big buildings, but you've got the real estate firm that did a tremendous job on the liquor store there. Everybody's familiar with that. They deserve an award for doing that. It took a long time, and it's a beautiful building. So what we need to do is maybe have some inducements to encourage other property owners in the downtown to do the same. Maybe try to have uniform signage and do something with all the wires going by. I think that's the next thing that improves the quality of life and helps with the tax base in the town as well.
Of course, that's not the only empty building.
No.
You have the old fire station, you have the other old.
Yeah.
VFW.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. We accumulate these dinosaurs and we're gonna do something with them.
Correct, right.
I said I had two.
Yeah.
The second one is the traffic out here, right? Like where we are. You put two 18-wheelers there and park on both sides.
And I'm like, I go like this.
What are you going to do to fix the roadblock to make it wide enough for the traffic that needs to get through town?
Well, I think there's a traffic study that addresses those improvements. But, you know, there's going to be money to do that and maybe state aid to do it as well. But as I say, your point is well taken. But the downtown area should be, I think, should be the next focus of the Board of Selectmen. And because I think we've made a good start on improving the tax base. Now let's improve the appearance and use in the downtown area in particular.
Yeah, I think he's kind of on the right track here. Is we need to really beautify our downtown, because that's one of the big things that's going to get business wanting to come in. Because if you drive through downtown and there's two trucks outside there and you can't even get through, or it's all just trash and there's garbage everywhere and the buildings don't look that great, no businesses are really going to want to move in because they want to go somewhere that's neat and it's clean and it looks nice and you can put stuff outside, you can really entice people to come through. We need to work to make downtown more walkable, easier, figure out ways to slow traffic that's coming through down. Because you could put a cop out there, but that's only going to slow traffic down when there's a cop there. Once that cop goes away, people are going to keep going 40, 50 miles an hour through downtown. We got to work to look at what other towns have done to slow down traffic in their downtown, see what we can do to emphasize our downtown, to turn it less from just a throughway for cars and more a place where you can walk, you can go to businesses, and you can actually enjoy your time in downtown. Because that's what's really going to entice people to come into our town and spend their money and go and bring business into our town.
So obviously on Main Street, like you say, we've got a bottleneck right here out front. There's also a bottleneck up by the library. And if you look at what real estate is available, we really don't have a lot of room to make the road wider, per se. But it definitely needs some improvement. I know personally, when I come through town, the first thing I see on Cal set is wires. And I would love to see Main Street and not wires. So along with improving that, I'm sure we can improve Main Street itself, make it more attractive, uniform, signage, kind of give it that little villagey feel that Douglas is, you know. We don't want, not that we don't want, I like the little feel of what Douglas is and like to keep it that way. Modernize it, but keep it that little villagey feel to attract people and business.
One other area of town that's worth consideration is what used to be called the Douglas Woods. It's about 1,000 acres and up on the Webster line there off of 16. Would be an ideal for a corporate campus for a large company where they want a lot of open space around it and really a high quality type of investment. So maybe that's something the town could be marketing. The person that owned most of the land didn't want to do anything with it. He said he'd just like to walk his dog on it, didn't want to see any development in there. But I think his heirs have taken over, so there may be a possibility, but that should be not a warehouse, but a corporate type of a headquarters where they want a lot of open space, very attractive around their buildings. So that's something that could be on the drawing board. Glad we answered all your questions.
What about parking in the center of town? I'm a transplant, but it just doesn't seem to me like there's an awful lot of parking available.
No, if we took the old elementary, maybe that would be made into parking, but hopefully we benefit the businesses in the downtown to do that. You're right, it is tight,
Yeah.
no question.
You almost have to play Frogger when you get out of your car and try to cross the road. It's tough, it really is. And having grown up in town and seeing the town grow, but Main Street's still the same size, it's definitely an issue, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we could also look into doing is probably expanding walkability so that, you know, people who are living closer to downtown, making it easier for them to walk to downtown, which would at least limit some of the car traffic that's gonna try and come in and park there. So like, if you're someone who's a 15-minute walk away, if there's no sidewalks, no anything to get there, you're gonna drive your car, you're gonna park it on the side of the road. So we could look, if we're trying to, and if it's between demolishing the grammar school to build a parking lot or building sidewalks, we could really try and find a balance to figure out which one's most cost effective and which one would have the most benefit to our community.
I walk up here from Hayward Landing and it's terrible.
Yeah.
I have to watch every step.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
No, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Anybody else, or shall we conclude?
I have one question. What about abandoned buildings? I mean, how do we get rid of them? I've got one on my street, and it's just about falling over, and you get tired of looking at a dump every day. What's the process to evaluate the safety of a building and just to get rid of it?
I don't know if there's anything in the zoning bylaws currently that covers that, but it's something that could be amended, so we need some sort of legal basis to tell somebody, well, you've got a derelict building, you've got to take it down, aside from public safety. But there are, I can think of 3 or 4. You probably know more than I do, but
I know some of them are condemned, some come up for auction.
Yeah.
I just don't know what the procedure is to determine. I know the taxes haven't been paid on it, it's abandoned.
Then the town, if they're unpaid taxes, and we've done that quite successfully recently, we picked up some property and been able to sell it and bring in hundreds of thousands of dollars for tax title, basically abandoned. We didn't force people out of their homes, but they were sort of abandoned type property. Or people didn't know who the owners were, and we had to go into land court to quiet the title to be able to do something with it.
Perhaps
Yeah,
one
I'm sure there's
thing, like,
processes.
check with is community development, and they could probably guide you as to what you need to do.
I think we owe you a vote of thanks.
Yes.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
This is very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.